With us and now, though, I'm so excited to have the next person with us. We're going to bring in Major William Bill Burnett. He is the chapter president for the Macon Thomas West Bloomfield chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. Thank you so much, Major, for being with us.
Thank you, Ronnie, for having me, and good morning.
I will say the Tuskegee Airmen, it's a story that is close to my heart, and I'm hoping that everyone out there understands the story and the sacrifice that so many of these men made for our country. But for those that aren't familiar with the Tuskegee Airmen, can you give us a little bit of background?
Yes, Ronnie, and the main thing I want to cover is who are the Tuskegee Airmen and how we got started. At the inception of the war, World War II we're speaking of, men and women were coming all over the country to serve their country, and many wanted to be pilots, the majority, shall I say. So they converged on Tuskegee. And the men had no idea that the government would allow a black pilot training program. So the word got back to the White House, President Roosevelt, that they wanted a black training program to train pilots, to be black pilots, especially in the South. Well, many people surrounded the president just didn't want to have that. They didn't want to hear it. They want to talk about blacks being pilots in the United States. So Mrs. Roosevelt, the president's wife, decided with her friend, Mary McLeod Bethune, and everybody knows who Mary McLeod Bethune was. She's the co-founder of Bethune-Cookman College. Well, they set out to Tuskegee, and they wanted to find out if blacks could literally fly aircraft. So they found out after Mrs. Roosevelt got in one of the combat aircraft and went up for a test flight. When she came back, she called the president and told him, these men are ready to fly. Give them a chance. Well, the president said if he's reelected, that he would start an all-black training program, but they would be trained at a segregated facility. Now, with that being said, with Tuskegee being in the South in a segregated area already, the Tuskegee, back then it was called Tuskegee Institute, which is now Tuskegee University, they decided that we'll give them a chance. So they started the training program there at Tuskegee, now known as Tuskegee University. And that's how the beginning of the program started at Tuskegee, and they got the name Tuskegee Airmen.
So it really is a fascinating story, but not only that, it's a sad story in our history as well. But can you tell us more about your chapter? Because what exactly is the Macon Thomas West Bloomfield chapter?
Back in 2012, I was president of the Detroit chapter, but we needed another chapter in the area. There was one in Lansing, of which the president had gotten up in age in their 90s, and the chapter was going down. So I sought out in the area to start another chapter. Being that I lived in West Bloomfield, I checked around, and the mayor, the police chief, and I found so many good friends in West Bloomfield, Debbie Binder, Terry Weingarten, and so many, and Chris Darcy. I found so many good people there with great diversity. I thought West Bloomfield would be a great place to start another chapter of Tuskegee Airmen. So I applied for a charter, and the charter was approved overwhelmingly, and that was in 2012, and we've been chartered in West Bloomfield since that time.
We're talking with Major Bill Burnett. He is the chapter president for the Macon Thomas West Bloomfield chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. I was very lucky enough to be able to meet Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson in person, and keeping the story alive is so important right now, because we do know that so many of the original members of this program, and we should point out it wasn't just pilots, it was the support staff as well.
Absolutely.
They're becoming elderly, and we're losing so many of them. So it's so important to keep this story and their legacy alive. The Lieutenant Colonel Jefferson went on. He returned to the state of Michigan, went on to actually become a teacher and a principal in the city of Detroit. But he has a fascinating story where he talks about how he was shot down, became a POW, and held captive for roughly 9 months by the Germans. And he says that he was actually treated better by the Germans than when he returned home. Because of the racism within our country. So it's so important to talk about this. What's the last year been like for you throughout the pandemic and trying to share this story?
This last year has been really devastating in that we had just begun our drone academy. American Airlines decided to send some people to New York and New Jersey to train to be directors, instructors in drone training all over the United States. So we sent a gentleman there to the training program. As a matter of fact, he became one of the highest scoring instructors in the training program. So we set out to start that program. We started it in Detroit, and it has become one of the greatest programs of all times. But with the COVID virus hitting us so hard, we had to suspend everything, and we had to sit it out. We're waiting on things to die down if we can get things going again. But this program is going to be one of the greatest in the areas where we train kids of all races, creeds, nationalities of how to fly drones. And it's going to be great.
So is really drones kind of the future of aviation?
I think so. We've got kids as young as 7 years of age.
Wow.
Who want to learn how to fly drones. But we started, because of our insurance, we started kids 10 through 17 last year, teaching them how to fly drones. The program kicked out so overwhelmingly, the Detroit School Board adopted it. We started it in the Detroit School District. Now we're doing it in the Inkster School District. We want to do it in the West Bloomfield School District. And it has really caught on, and it's going to be the thing of the future.
I love that you're seeing the future now and trying to train the next generation and doing it in some of these communities that maybe thought that this wasn't possible to talk about aviation. I mean, we're talking Google at some point and Amazon. They expect to be able to start delivering packages via drone. So it really is an economic future for so many of these people.
You know, we had one young man that really I met at one of the restaurants a couple of years ago, who started out as a young man learning how to fly drones. Well, as he became an adult, he had become so proficient of it that he was one of the best in the areas. So real estate companies, mortgage companies, state police, local police authorities, uh, movie production companies moved him to California. And he is making so much money now. His dad was a plant worker at one of the auto manufacturing plants. He hired his dad to work for him. So he bought a motorhome where they could travel. Then he stopped his mother from working. She also works for him. So they travel all over the country. The man is making so much money now, he can afford to pay his mother and father to work for him. And what he's doing is operating his drone business all over the United States.
So many opportunities in this arena. Major William Burnett with us. He's the chapter president for the Macon Thomas West Bloomfield chapter of Tuskegee Airmen. We know that the museum recently moved to the Charles Wright Museum downtown Detroit. Have you been to the new setup?
No, I have not. Now, this is one area where we have a museum in the Detroit area. It is a separate 501c3. Each organization, and there are 50 all over the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska. My goal is to build a state-of-the-art museum here in Oakland County, preferably in West Bloomfield or anywhere in Oakland County. We need it. We also want to attach to that a banquet facility where we can have banquets, commercial meetings, but we've got people donating equipment now for the museum, and we've got stuff going all the way back to World War II, fighter plane, B-52, B-27 cameras from planes. I've got stuff in my garage that when we get this thing going, we'll be ready to go.
Oh, that is so awesome. How
And
can people...
I'm sorry.
Because I would think donations are probably tough right now, fundraising because of COVID-19, but how can people try to find out more and get involved if they want to?
They can really contact me personally, or they can go to our website, is TAI-MaconThomas.org, or they can contact me at Major William Burnett. My phone number is 248-242-6293. And they can also mail any donation, any amount of money that they would love to donate. They can mail it to Tuskegee Airmen. Make your checks payable to Tuskegee, Tuskegee Airmen, AIRMEN, plural, Tuskegee Airmen, 6036 Petros, that's spelled with a P, Petros Drive, West Bloomfield, Michigan, 48324. We'd love to raise at least $3 million to have a state-of-the-art museum here in Oakland County.
So with that, Major, are you a nonprofit that those donations are tax deductible?
Yes, we are a 501c3 under the IRS code.
Any thoughts on where you're trying to put the museum?
Anywhere in Oakland County. It has to be on an area that would be accessible to traffic and safe for kids to attend.
We are talking with Major Bill Burnett with us here on the MegaCast. He's the chapter president of the Macon Thomas West Bloomfield chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. Just one more minute with you here on the MegaCast. How'd you get so passionate about this topic?
I became president of the Tuskegee Airmen Detroit chapter back in 2009. And I started out as chairman of Ways and Means, worked my way up to public relations. And I was a very good friend of the Detroit Mayor, Coleman A. Young. And as you mentioned a moment ago, Colonel Alexander Jefferson, who was one of my mentors. These are great men great leaders, and I got my start by knowing these men. So as I became more involved, there was more expected of me. So since 2009, I have worked my way up the chain and have become president since 2012. So I'm very passionate about what I do for kids, the community, and one thing that I have to say, back during World War II, racism kept us from doing anything that we wanted to do for this country, for America, that we love also. But we do not practice any racism today. Any child, any adult can join our organization as long as they do not have a current criminal record. We do not want people with a criminal record. If it has expunged from your record, you'll be okay. But we want to have good community relations, do good things for the community that we serve, and we have a good name and a great legacy that we have to uphold.
Well, Major Burnett, we so appreciate you, your time, but also the work that you're doing to not only keep the legacy and the story alive, but also to teach the next generation. Thank you so much again for being with us.
Thank you, Ronnie, for having me, and say hello to Larry.
I will.
Thank you for all you guys, and Keith, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Stay safe and stay healthy. We look forward to meeting you in person one day.
Thank you.